sometimes you need to train your contractor. So this cartoon says, honey, the contractor's here to install the new floor. And it's a dirt floor, but you guys aren't laughing, so maybe that's not funny in Canada, right? That's funny here. Anyway, that didn't go over too well. Okay. I'll mark that back of the office that maybe we remove this slide. The point of the matter is, sometimes you're going to have to train your contractor. If your contractor is working on site and they're sloppy, tell them to pick up after themselves. That's my biggest pet peeve, is when they leave a job dirty. Not only after the job when they're done, but every day. Every day. I hope that they come in, they do their work, and they clean up after themselves. That's my biggest pet peeve, because I may be bringing people in there during the construction phase, either other contractors, or I might be marketing that property to sell, or to bring a partner in, or a bank. Okay, does that make sense? It's a funny thing. Sometimes I've had bankers come through properties, and I've had people go to the property just to act busy because it looks like more things are happening on that property. So that's a little bit of a trick there that I use. But what's that? That's kind of like staging. Yes, that's kind of like staging. But sometimes you're going to have to train your contractors. Bid well, pay well, but not too well. In other words, you don't want to overdo it. Don't let some of these people take advantage of you, okay? Heather says sometimes I have a little bit of an issue of having people take advantage of me in some of those cases. And boy, she's right on that if that's the case. But make sure that you're not letting some of these contractors, after you start working with them, you'll see them taking advantage of you a little bit. Getting paid early, or getting paid more than they should, those type of things. Make sure you're monitoring that. How to avoid common problems. I truly believe it's through communication. Your challenge is that you might be doing a rehab and the property is several thousand miles away from you. I would use Skype or FaceTime or whatever it is, but make sure that you're communicating probably daily. I would also make sure that you have some type of third-party representative here, your agent, another contractor, a relative, you name it, to check up on the contractors on site. Don't let them think that you're in another country and you're not going to be here, because they're going to walk on you or walk all over you. And I don't want that to happen. So make sure that you have some type of accountability for them. Does that make sense? Any questions with that at all? No? Okay. Forms you may need. We talked about maybe like a log to put together with regard to all of the bids that come in. You can compare them a little bit better. You might need forms from your county as far as pulling permits. Sometimes your contractors will pull the permits for you, so you might be able to avoid that. I think you might be using a budget or maybe a project management type scenario with software. Who uses Evernote here? Okay, Evernote has a wonderful project management component to it. It does, and it's great for rehab projects like this. So look into that. It's called, if you go on to Evernote's, and now again, I sound like I'm working for Evernote. If you go onto Evernote's website, you'll see it as an ad in the left-hand corner. It'll come up for project management. It's a component to Evernote, and it works really well. I know several people that use that. So secrets of how to run 7 rehabs at once, because this is about the most that I've done at one time. Okay? Number 1, get systematized. I think it's important to have a system. Communication, reports, your inspections, your time frame, and your ultimate exit strategy, renting it out or selling it. You've got to have a system in place. Time leverage, the $50 rule. What do I mean by that? I mean that you need to mark yourself as an hourly wage. Find out how much time you're going to specifically spend in that. It may not be worth your time to go get supplies when you can have somebody that you maybe have hired or somebody that's working for you that charges you $10 an hour, okay? So make sure that you keep that in mind. Some of you are worth a lot more than $50 an hour. Some a lot less, but some a lot more, okay? Knowledge leverage, or leverage knowledge is what that should say. Use other people's knowledge, okay? Even as many rehabs that I've done, I don't know everything. And I really rely on some of my contractors or some of the other people that are doing it in the industry to kind of show me the way with that. I do go to places like the Merchandise Mart in Chicago that shows all the new trends that are coming down the line, or how to, fix something a little bit better. Speaking of drywall, I had, now this may or may not be true, but I had a drywall professional give me a hint using a wet sponge in fixing drywall, and it worked very quickly. I don't know if you do that, but they use a wet sponge when they're finishing drywall. It was so much quicker than the way I was doing it. I was like, man, that just makes total sense. I don't know why I was doing it the other way. But, so I use experts and professionals to kind of give me those tips kind of thing. Education, I think you could never stop learning. I think it's important to walk through rehabs like Charles, and Charles has probably invested not only money, but the time to get the lesson of what he's going through with that 4 unit. I think that's great, by the way, and I think that's probably gonna pay off on your next deal, okay? The driving office, multitasking. Now, I said this before, and I got a little bit of flack from it. You're not supposed to text when you're driving, and I tell my daughters that all the time. You're not supposed to, do other things. You may have a scenario where you might have to pull over. You'll be on the phone, you got your iPad working, you've got, other things happening. Learn how to multitask, okay? I bring that iPad everywhere. For me, that does so much. It keeps my schedule. I take my notes on it. I take pictures with it. I send emails with it. If you don't have an iPad, use your smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, I don't know what to tell you. You probably have an avocado refrigerator in your house. I don't know. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying use technology to make your life easier. And I think you can multitask better with things like, a tablet or smartphone, or maybe even your computer. They make these computers so small today. This is your iPad, right? Who's got that small computer up front here? Well, somebody had it. It's tiny. Make sure you bring it with it. Make sure that you're using it as your tool. I think it's very, very important. I don't know what I would do without it. It's so functional for me. Okay? I also make my long distance calls on Skype. So it saves me money. I'm not using my minutes on my cell phone. Okay? So I use it as a communication tool. And finally, if you're new to the rehab business and have never done it before, maybe you partner with somebody that has experience in that. Maybe you can draw off their knowledge, share some of the expense with that. So if you're new to that, maybe you can align yourself with a partner. I think that would work fairly well. Questions on anything we've talked about with rehabbing at all? We could probably talk about rehabbing for weeks. This is a topic that you can get a lot more detailed into. Yes?
When you're rehabbing, you're on a draw system, like times of the essence, if you want to get it done in 2 weeks. So what's the quickest way to, how do you usually pay them?
Yeah, he mentioned a draw system. That's important. When you're doing a rehab and you're getting a construction loan from a bank, typically you'll be paid out in draws. So what will happen is the contractors will do the rehab, the bank or the appraiser will go out and, or representative from the bank will go out and inspect the rehab, and then you'll go to kind of like a semi-closing, and that contractor will get a draw. They'll also sign a lien waiver release every time they get a draw. So that's kind of how that works with a construction loan. Your question was, though, I'm sorry.
Well, okay, so that contractor says I'm at this stage, I want to get paid, and I'm not working anymore until
Got it.
How do you get that money there?
Yeah.
Do you just get his info, banking info, and just
Wire it.
wire it?
Well, here's what I would do with that. I want to be in communication with that contractor. So typically in the contract, by the way, I'll state that this project is being paid by draws from a bank from a construction loan. So initially the contractor knows that. In addition to that, I'll tell the contractor, hey, when you're done with the kitchen, I need about a week's notice prior to you getting done because I need to schedule the inspection. I'll have the closing, and it's not really a full closing, it's kind of like a draw or semi-closing. I'll have the closing the next day, you can get paid the very next day that you're done. And usually that suffices, but communication is the key there. Okay?
A logistical question. I'm sitting up in Canada, so do I...
Not reading, are you? Okay. Focusing, got it.
And, so, logistically, do I wire the money to his account? Then it's sort of like, here's your money, where's my lien sign off?
Well, they're going to pick up the check at the title company or attorney's office when there's a draw situation involved. So they're going to be forced to sign that lien waiver before they get their check. So typically that scenario is handled at the title company. You won't have to wire funds or anything like that. You have to do a lien waiver on every draw. That's correct. Yep. Are we good? You're fully satisfied? Yes, BJ.
I didn't follow the last bit.
Yeah, when a contractor does work, Marco's an electrician. Let's say Marco comes out to my house and does work. And if I don't pay Marco, well, he's probably going to try and beat me up. But the key word there, try. Anyway, you can see he's getting mad right now. I saw the look in his eyes. Like, I will tear you up like you wouldn't believe it. Yeah? If you touch me, I'll tell Heather. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So if Marco comes to my house and I don't pay Marco, he could put a mechanic's lien on my house in the amount that he's owed, and maybe then some, depending on the state that's done in, okay? So every time a contractor does work for you, when you pay them, before giving them the money, you need to have them sign a lien release saying that they were paid this amount for this work being done. If they don't have a lien release form on the website, we'll get one on there for you. But a lien release needs to be filled out every time you pay a contractor, okay?
Will you take just one single lien release at the end?
If you're paying that contractor in stages, you need to have one for every stage you pay them, okay? And then at the end, that'll be a final lien release. It'll actually say final lien release on there. But I would always pay Marco. Always pay. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed rehabbing. We will see you at the next segment. Thank you for being here.